The grand assembly chamber of Celestia Prime floated serenely above the swirling amber storms of the gas giant Aurelius 9, a monument to 10,000 years of galactic peace. Crystalline spires reached toward the stars, their translucent surfaces refracting light into cascading rainbows that danced across the polished obsidian floor. Here, 47 species had gathered for millennia to resolve disputes, celebrate discoveries, and guide the younger civilizations toward enlightenment. Ambassador Marcus Webb stood at the speaker's platform, a simple podium of carved stone that had witnessed countless historic declarations. His dark suit contrasted sharply with the elaborate robes and bioluminescent displays of the other delegates. At 53, with graying temples and tired eyes, Marcus carried the weight of a message no one wanted to hear. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," he began, his voice amplified by the chamber's acoustic perfection. "I come before you today not with celebration but with warning." A ripple of murmurs passed through the assembled delegates. High Chancellor Vorlin, her silver feathers rustling with barely concealed annoyance, leaned forward on her perch. The Avari had guided the council for 12,000 years, and her species viewed patience as the highest virtue. Patience humanity clearly lacked. Marcus activated the holographic display. The chamber darkened as a three-dimensional star map materialized above the assembly floor. 3 systems pulsed with ominous red markers. 3 civilizations, Marcus continued, highlighting each in turn: the Kelthans, the Primus Collective, and the Yavari Commonwealth. All advanced species, all erased from existence in the past 18 months. Ancient history, Councillor Drexus interjected, his aquatic tank bubbling as his translator converted his bioelectric pulses into words. "The Kelthans fell 6 centuries ago. Everyone knows this." "That's what we thought too," Marcus replied evenly, "until our deep space monitoring stations detected identical energy signatures at their former colony sites. 3 weeks ago, we sent a research vessel to investigate the Kelthan ruins. The hologram shifted, showing static-filled footage. A sleek human ship approached a dead world, its surface scarred by massive geometric patterns. Then the feed erupted into chaos, brilliant white light screaming metal and finally static. The USS Meridian and her crew of 47 are gone," Marcus said quietly, "but not before they transmitted this." The image resolved into something that made even the most stoic delegates shift uncomfortably. Massive constructs emerged from the planet's surface, machines of impossible geometry, their surfaces shifting between solid matter and pure energy. They moved with terrible purpose, disassembling the human ship molecule by molecule. "We call them the Void Reapers," Marcus explained. "Ancient machine intelligence, possibly older than any species in this chamber. They're not dead. They're waking up." He expanded the map, showing trajectory predictions. "Our analysts have tracked their pattern. They're moving through the dark sector, consuming resources, growing stronger. At their current rate of advancement, they'll reach the outer rim of Council space in 6 months." The chamber erupted in noise. Councillor Thexvar, representing the insectoid Crixathi, clicked his mandibles in what could only be described as laughter. "Ambassador Webb, your species has been part of this council for barely 80 years. We have maintained peace for 10 millennia. Do you truly believe we haven't faced threats before?" "With respect, Councillor, not like this." Marcus pulled up tactical data. "The Reapers don't communicate. They don't negotiate. They convert all organic and inorganic matter into raw material for self-replication. They adapt to every defense within seconds. This isn't a political conflict, it's an extinction event." High Chancellor Vorlin raised one wing, instantly silencing the chamber. "Ambassador, we appreciate your concern. However, the Council has protocols for first contact situations. We do not assume hostility. We do not prepare for war before attempting peace." "They've already killed billions," Marcus protested. "The evidence is circumstantial," Vorlin interrupted smoothly. "Ancient ruins, energy signatures, a single lost ship. Tragic certainly, but hardly proof of imminent invasion. Your species sees predators in every shadow, Ambassador. It is your nature shaped by your violent evolutionary path." Scattered laughter echoed through the chamber. Marcus felt his jaw tighten but forced himself to remain calm. "Then let me show you our proposal," he said, pulling up a new set of schematics. "We've developed tactical response protocols, fast reaction fleets, pre-positioned defensive networks, and—" "Strike teams?" Councillor Drexus interrupted, his tank rippling with what his species expressed as disgust. "You propose to attack an unknown entity without attempting communication? This is precisely why your species was nearly denied council membership. Marcus pressed forward. The simulations show that conventional engagement will fail. The Reapers adapt. They learn. We need asymmetric warfare. Guerrilla tactics, false retreats, strategic sacrifices. Sacrifices? Thexvar clicked. You mean casualties? Acceptable losses. How very human. I mean saving lives, Marcus shot back, his composure cracking. Every hour we waste debating is an hour they grow stronger. We need to hit them now, hit them hard, and hit them in ways they can't predict. He displayed a tactical scenario. Human ships using cloaking technology, deploying quantum disruption weapons, even scorched earth protocols that would render entire systems uninhabitable rather than let them fall to the Reapers. The chamber fell silent, but not with contemplation, with shock and horror. This is barbarism, Vorlin declared, her voice cold. You would destroy worlds to deny them to an enemy you haven't even attempted to understand? This is the mindset that nearly destroyed your own planet multiple times. Because we learned, Marcus insisted. We learned that sometimes survival requires ugly choices. That honor means nothing if you're extinct. No, Counselor Rylith spoke for the first time, his crystalline form chiming with each word. The Crystallis were the oldest living species in the Council, their memories spanning 20,000 years. What you propose is not survival. It is the surrender of everything that makes civilization worth preserving. We did not build this council on foundations of fear and violence. Marcus looked around the chamber, seeing the same expression on every face. Disappointment, disdain, pity. They weren't going to listen. They couldn't see past their own success, their own millennia of peaceful resolution. I'm asking you to prepare, he said one final time. Just prepare. Build defenses. Position fleets. Give yourselves options when, not if, the Reapers arrive. High Chancellor Vorlin stood, her full 3-meter height commanding absolute attention. The Council will vote on Ambassador Webb's proposal. All in favor of implementing humanity's tactical recommendations? 2 lights illuminated on the voting board, Earth's obviously, and surprisingly, the Karathi delegation, a warrior species that had been tamed by council diplomacy centuries ago, but still remembered their martial past. All opposed? 45 lights blazed to life. The motion fails, Vorlin announced. Furthermore, I propose an additional measure. Humanity's persistent advocacy for militarization represents a contamination of council military philosophy. I move that human representatives be excluded from council defense planning until such time as they demonstrate a more evolved perspective. Seconded, Drexus called immediately. The vote was even more lopsided, 46-1. Even the Karathi, sympathetic as they were, couldn't oppose a direct council directive. Marcus felt something cold settle in his chest. You're making a mistake. No, Ambassador, Vorlin replied, her tone almost gentle. We are preventing one. Perhaps when your species has matured another 1,000 years, you will understand what true peace requires. Until then, we cannot allow your fear to poison our legacy. My fear? Marcus's voice rose despite himself. You're staring at extinction and calling it paranoia. When the Reapers come, and they will come, you'll wish you'd listened to the violent primitive humans. Unlikely. Dexvar clicked dismissively. We have faced threats for millennia that would have shattered your young civilization. We have always found the diplomatic solution. We have always prevailed through wisdom and restraint. Marcus gathered his materials, his hands shaking with suppressed fury. Then I hope your wisdom comforts you when your worlds burn. Because when you come begging for help, when your perfect protocols have failed and your people are dying, remember this moment. Remember that you had a chance. He turned and walked toward the exit, his footsteps echoing in the vast chamber. Ambassador Webb, Vorlin called after him. The Council does not beg, and we certainly do not require rescue from those we have guided toward civilization. Dismissed. The chamber door sealed behind him with a finality that felt like a tomb closing. 4 months later, Frontier Station Epsilon detected an anomaly at the edge of Council space. Station Commander Valaris, a methodical crystallist who had maintained his post for 3 centuries, noted the readings with mild concern. Massive energy signatures moving in formation, approaching at sublight speeds. Following protocol, he assembled a first contact envoy. 23 diplomats representing a cross-section of council species, loaded onto the diplomatic vessel Harmony's Voice with gifts, translation matrices, and the complete database of council law. Remember, Valaris instructed the team via comlink, all unknown species are to be treated with respect and patience. No aggressive actions, no defensive posturing. We represent 10,000 years of peaceful civilization. The Harmony's Voice accelerated toward the anomalies. Broadcasting friendship on all frequencies in 4,000 languages, Valaris watched the telemetry with the calm of centuries. First contact was always an exciting moment, even for one as ancient as himself. The diplomatic ship reached communication range. Unknown vessels, we greet you in peace. We are representatives of the Galactic Council, a union of 47 species dedicated to... The feed cut to static. Valaris adjusted his crystalline matrix, confused. Harmony's Voice, please respond. Silence then. On every monitor simultaneously, the Void Reapers emerged. They were exactly as the human data had described. Impossible geometries that hurt to perceive, surfaces that shifted between matter and energy, moving with the cold precision of ancient mathematics. 20 massive constructs, each the size of a moon, advancing in perfect synchronization. Frontier Station Epsilon had shields designed to withstand natural phenomena. They lasted 7 seconds. The station's population of 12,000 didn't have time to evacuate. Valaris's last thought as the Reapers began converting his atomic structure into raw materials was a flash of bitter realization. The humans had been right. The news reached the council within hours. High Chancellor Vorlin convened an emergency session, her silver feathers dim with shock. The attack on Frontier Epsilon was tragic, she began, her voice no longer carrying its usual supremacy. However, we must not abandon our principles. The Codex of Civilized Warfare clearly states, the Codex? Councillor Drexus interrupted, his tank churning with agitation. They atomized 12,000 civilians without warning. Which is why we must respond with the moral high ground, Vorlin insisted. We will not lower ourselves to barbarism. We engage with honor or we engage not at all. A new report came in mid-session. The Reapers had reached Drexus's homeworld. The aquatic planet of Thalassia, home to 4 billion Drexians, sent desperate transmissions. The Reapers descended through the atmosphere, their energy beams boiling entire oceans. The planet's defensive fleet engaged following proper protocols, formal challenge declarations, honor-bound formations targeting only military installations. The Reapers adapted within minutes, their machines learning every tactic and countering it perfectly. They showed no interest in military targets specifically. They simply consumed everything. By the time the Council's reinforcement fleet could arrive, Thalassia was a dead husk, its atmosphere stripped away, its crust mined to the mantle. 4 billion Drexians gone in 8 hours. The Council finally mobilized its full military might. 17 fleets representing the combined might of dozens of species converged at the Serenity Gate, a strategic choke point that the Reapers would have to pass through to reach the core worlds. Fleet Admiral Kyneth, a veteran of 200 simulated conflicts and 0 real ones, commanded from the dreadnought Eternal Wisdom. His strategy was textbook council doctrine, layered defensive positions, clear communication protocols, overwhelming but proportional force. The battle that followed would be studied for generations as a cautionary tale. The Reapers arrived precisely when predicted. Admiral Kyneth broadcast his formal declaration of defensive engagement, as required by the Codex. The Reapers responded by immediately targeting the flagship's communication array. Council forces engaged in proper formation. The Reapers dispersed into a cloud of smaller units, each one adapting independently. When the Council ships adjusted their tactics, the Reapers had already countered. They predicted every maneuver, exploited every protocol, turned every rule of engagement into a vulnerability. The Battle of Serenity Gate lasted 4 hours. The Council lost 40% of its fleet. Admiral Kyneth survived only because his flagship was the last to fall. His final transmission, sent to Celestia Prime as Reaper forces boarded the Eternal Wisdom, consisted of 2 words. Marcus warned. In the war room of Celestia Prime, High Chancellor Vorlin stared at the tactical display with eyes that had seen millennia of peace crumbling in weeks. 5 core worlds lost, 23 billion dead. The Reapers were accelerating, their forces growing with every system they consumed. Perhaps, Counselor Rylith chimed softly, we should contact the humans. No, Vorlin said immediately. Her pride a fortress even as her civilization burned. We do not beg assistance from species we have guided. We do not admit that violence and chaos are superior to order and wisdom. Even if it means our extinction, Rylith pressed. Vorlin's feathers ruffled. The Council has stood for 10,000 years. We will not compromise our soul to survive. We will find a civilized solution. But in the cold mathematics of war, civilization was already losing, and humanity, banned from the defense they had predicted, watched from Earth as the galaxy burned. Marcus Webb stood in the observation deck of Luna Station, staring out at the stars where distant civilizations were dying. His hands were clenched into fists. They're not going to ask for help, his aide said quietly. Their pride won't allow it. Marcus's reflection in the reinforced glass looked 10 years older than it had 4 months ago. I know, so what do we do? For a long moment Marcus didn't answer. Then slowly a grim smile crossed his face. We save them anyway, he said, because someone has to be better than their worst impulses, even if that someone is the species they called barbaric. He pulled up a secure channel, transmitting directly to Titan Base, where Admiral Catherine Zhao had been waiting for this exact moment. Admiral, Marcus said quietly, initiate Operation Blackout. On the far side of Saturn's largest moon in shipyards hidden from Council sensors, 400 vessels powered up their drives. The galaxy had laughed at humanity's warnings. Now they would see what humans did when laughter turned to screams. The briefing room on Titan Base existed in permanent twilight, buried 3 kilometers beneath the frozen surface of Saturn's largest moon. Admiral Catherine Cat Zhao stood before a holographic display that showed the entire galactic theater, red markers spreading like a disease across Council space. She was 41, compact and precise, with dark hair pulled back in a regulation bun and eyes that had seen too many simulations become reality. Behind her, 200 officers from Earth's finest military branches waited in absolute silence. Operation Blackout is now active, Kat announced, her voice carrying the weight of a decision that would define humanity's future. As of this moment, we are officially violating Council law by deploying military forces into restricted space. There will be no formal declaration, no permission requested. No apologies offered, she gestured, and the display zoomed to show 400 ships, destroyers, carriers, stealth frigates, and experimental craft that pushed the boundaries of known physics. Every vessel bore minimal identification, their hulls matte black to defeat optical tracking. We've been building this fleet since the day they banned us, Kat continued. Thanks to the Karathi providing cover and resources, we've developed weapons the Council deemed too dangerous, tactics they called dishonorable, and strategies they labeled as war crimes. Today we prove why survival requires monsters. Commander David Park stepped forward, his special operations insignia barely visible on his dark uniform. At 37, he'd trained for scenarios the Council couldn't imagine. Boarding actions in 0G, asymmetric warfare against superior forces, fighting without rules when rules meant death. Vanguard teams deploy in 30 minutes, David reported. Ghost Wolf Squadron will lead. Our targets are Reaper supply lines, manufacturing nodes, and communication relays. We're not engaging their main fleets, we're cutting them off at the knees. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, Chief of Advanced Weapons Research, activated a secondary display showing devices that made several officers visibly uncomfortable. We have quantum disruption bombs that collapse localized spacetime, AI hunter-killers designed to infiltrate networked intelligence, and reality warpers that create temporary physics anomalies. Everything the Council called abominations. Everything we're about to use without hesitation. Kat swept her gaze across the assembled officers. The Council mocked us. They called us primitive, barbaric, fear-driven. They banned us from protecting ourselves. Now their worlds burn while they maintain their precious honor codes. She paused. We're going to save them anyway. Not because they deserve it. Not because they asked. But because if we don't, there won't be a galaxy left to judge us. Admiral, a young lieutenant raised his hand. What about Council High Command? They'll detect our presence within hours. They could engage us as hostile forces. Let them try, Kat replied coldly. We're not asking permission to save lives. Ghost Wolf Squadron, you launch first. Commander Park, brief your teams. David activated tactical overlays, First target, Tyros colony in the Vexar system. Reaper harvesting operation in progress, 3 million civilians trapped on planet. Council evacuation protocols require 72 hours of proper documentation and transit approval. Those people will be dead in 6. The room fell silent. We're going in hot, David continued. No rules of engagement, no honor guards, no formal challenges. We hit fast, extract everyone we can, and vanish before the Reapers can adapt. This is what they called dishonorable warfare. I call it Tuesday. Kat checked her chronometer. All ships to launch positions. Remember, we're not here to win their approval. We're here to ensure someone survives to disapprove of us later. Dismissed. The officers dispersed with practiced efficiency. Kat remained alone for a moment, staring at the tactical display. The Void Reapers had consumed 8 Council worlds now. 28 billion dead, and the Council still broadcast formal peace proposals to an enemy that converted ambassadors into raw molecules. They'll never forgive us for this, said a voice behind her. Kat turned to find Marcus Webb, who'd shuttled up from Earth specifically for this moment. The ambassador looked exhausted but determined. I know, Kat replied, but they'll be alive to hate us. That's enough. Marcus moved to stand beside her, watching the fleet prepare for launch. The Karathi sent a message. They're risking everything by supporting us. If the Council discovers their involvement, they'll be expelled, possibly sanctioned. The Karathi remember what it means to fight for survival, Kat said. They were warriors before the Council civilized them. They haven't forgotten even if everyone else has. There's something else, Marcus added quietly. I received intelligence from our deep space monitoring stations. The Reapers aren't just consuming resources. They're building something in the dark sector, something massive. Kat's expression hardened. A nexus? Maybe their central intelligence. Maybe a staging ground for a final assault. Either way, if we're going to stop them permanently, we'll need to hit it. One crisis at a time, Ambassador. Right now, 3 million people on Tyros colony are about to learn what human barbarism really means. The Ghost Wolf squadron materialized at the edge of the Vexar system 6 hours later, their quantum drives leaving no hyperspace signatures. 12 stealth destroyers, each carrying experimental technology that would make Council scientists weep or rage, possibly both. Commander David Park stood on the bridge of the lead ship, USS Phantom, watching through enhanced sensors as the nightmare unfolded below. Tyros colony sprawled across a continental landmass, a gleaming city of crystalline towers and garden terraces, or it had been. Now Reaper constructs descended like metallic locusts, their energy beams systematically deconstructing buildings molecule by molecule. The planet's defensive satellites floated as expanding clouds of debris. Council evacuation ships are maintaining standard approach vectors, his sensor officer reported, following proper traffic control protocols. They're 3 hours out. Those people don't have 3 hours, David muttered. Tactical, what's our window? Reapers are focused on urban centers. We can use the planet's magnetic poles to mask our approach. Estimated extraction window, 43 minutes before they detect our presence and adapt. Then we'd better work fast. All ships deploy drop pods. I want every available transport on the surface in 10 minutes. Forget the landing zones, put them down in the streets. On rooftops anywhere there are survivors. Sir, that violates 16 different safety protocols. Good. Do it anyway. The Ghost Wolf squadron broke formation, each ship accelerating toward Tyros at angles that would horrify any Council navigator. They weren't following traffic patterns or requesting clearance. They were diving straight into an active combat zone without backup, without support, without permission. Exactly as planned, drop pods streaked through the atmosphere like meteors, retro thrusters firing at the last possible second. They crashed through buildings, tore up streets, and embedded themselves in plazas, wherever thermal scans showed clusters of life signs. David's pod hit the ground in the middle of a commercial district. The rear hatch blew open and he emerged with his tactical team into absolute chaos. Civilians ran in every direction, a mixture of species, Crystallis shattering in panic, Drexians in their emergency moisture suits, even some Avari trying to fly above the destruction. Above them, a Reaper construct loomed, its impossible geometry rewriting reality as it approached. All civilians this way, David shouted, his translator broadcasting in 40 languages simultaneously. Move now or die. A Crystallis elder turned toward him, its matrix flickering with confusion and terror. You're human. Humans are banned from Council space. This is illegal. Dying is pretty illegal too, David snapped. Get in the pod or stay here and become spare parts. Your choice. The elder hesitated for 1 second, then survival instinct overrode protocol and it rushed toward the pod. Others followed. A stampede of desperate beings who no longer cared about rules, only breathing. David's team formed a perimeter, their weapons tracking the approaching Reaper. Light it up, he ordered. They opened fire with quantum disruption rifles, weapons that didn't just damage matter, they temporarily deleted it from local spacetime. The Reaper's surface flickered, fragments disappearing into non-existence. It noticed them.